Hi, my name is Seth Tuller, and the PI on the project is Charlie Verosmarty from the City College of New York. And there's about 10 other co-PIs and senior personnel and grad students working on this project. The goal of the project is to assess the impacts of gray and green or natural-based infrastructure on the ways that food, energy, and water systems may function in the face of climate extremes over the time period of the present day to 2100. And we're focusing on two regions in the US, the Midwest and the Northeast. Much of the work so far has been to configure and integrate a suite of biogeophysical and economic models to create an integrated climate, food, energy, and water systems model system. Now we're turning to co-designing and exploring scenarios of climate extremes, the impacts on the food, energy, and water systems in the two regions, and alternative engineered and green infrastructure management options that can help mitigate the impacts. And we're doing that with stakeholders from the two regions that represent industry, government, and the nonprofit sector that have an interest in climate, food, energy, water system policies in the two regions. And there's about 20 folks on this group. So far we had one stakeholder working group meeting in the fall. We introduced the project and we gathered input about their areas of interest. They had a strong interest in the project and what they can learn from the models. The integrated models take a long time to run and they're very complex. So we've been developing reduced complexity models that will allow for quicker runs, be more intuitive, and be more amenable to exploration and learning by the stakeholders. And we're using Stella for that if you're interested. The first meeting also revealed challenges as we move along in the project. The stakeholders have many interests in working at multiple scales, and their fine-tuned questions are not always addressable with the existing models. Stakeholders in the models have different parameters or are interested in different parameters and work at different scales. We hope to have a second meeting in May where we will be introducing the Stella models and begin discussion of specific scenarios to develop and explore that link the capabilities of the integrated climate, food, energy, water models and the stakeholder interests and questions. And then during the summer, we'll be exploring those with them. Thanks.
Questions?
I have a question. Seth, thank you. I was just, maybe I missed it, but you can't get everything in that quick. What kind of, who are the stakeholders?
What?
Who are the stakeholders?
So some of them come from, well, like for example, there's somebody from the independent, the utility system in New York City. There's other ones that work for the farm bureaus. There are other people that work in EPA, so there are a variety of industry, government at different scales, local, sort of regional, national, and then some nonprofits. So, I mean, and there's also some folks in academic institutions that think broadly about these issues.
So, Weston, this is Charlie Verosmarty. So I'm with Seth here today, and yeah, it's hard to really give the scope of the entire project in 2 minutes or so. I mean, there are a lot of moving parts to the whole thing. But I did want to mention that we're focused, as the map had indicated, on really the fully regional dimensions. So we've had to make sure that, by and large, but not entirely the case, by and large, the stakeholders that we're engaging have regional strategic issues at the heart of their interests. And so we're not going to be able to accommodate a request by a stakeholder, for example, to tell a story about climate change 50 years from now and how much a downtown area of that small town is going to flood. I mean, we simply are not at that scale. But we can say that, by and large, a regional signature of climate change for the Northeast, which actually is forecast to give more water availability and therefore potentially more flooding, that this is going to be a regional challenge, and a regional challenge that is being imposed by the climate. At the same time, there might be increase in the level of suburbanization, the proliferation of impervious surfaces, et cetera. Well, you can connect the dots there and indicate that, oh, the risk of flooding is likely to go up under that scenario. However, another scenario might say, oh, well, let's try to green up as much marginal land as possible. Let's replant forests. Let's try to manage our watersheds a little bit more sensibly to get ready for this influx of new water that's forecast with the climate change signal. So anyway, I just want to make that clear that we can't do everything to everyone, and our stakeholders are chosen to think, very, very broadly at the regional or state level, and what the major big challenges are going to be looking into the future.
Yeah.
Thanks, Charles.
There was a question in the chat too. What are the goals for the stakeholder engagement? The goals are to, with these stakeholders who are thinking at these more strategic and broader levels, to think about what scenarios, what concerns or what kind of questions and concerns they have, and then to co-design these scenarios with them to explore some of the opportunities to mitigate impacts using different gray and green infrastructure. And so the goals are to learn, right, and to explore the usefulness of this kind of integrated suite of models. And I'd say that the goals of exploring learning go for both the modelers and for the stakeholders.
We had if I could just add a teeny bit to that, we had a stakeholder engagement effort in the last project we had, which was looking more purely at the electrical energy sector and how it was vulnerable to climate change. And we actually had these stakeholder meetings where we were in the position of presenting them with, I don't know, 25, 30, 35 variables that come out of our energy models. And they were particularly interested in the reliability of what's called adjusted available capacity. So you have a capacity to produce power on the grid in a region. And they were really interested, once you consider heat waves of the future or droughts, how much of that 100% capacity would you have? Does it go down to 95%? Does it go down to 80%? That was one of their chief interests, and what the fraction of time that they would be looking at, where the available capacity of these power plants was somehow compromised by the climate. And we might have anticipated that, but they really zoomed in on that. So this kind of a dialogue is critical to us, because we're academics, I'll fully admit that, and we do all sorts of crazy, wacky things that we find interesting, but it may not be of interest to the people who could use this information. So we do learn from these exercises.
Thanks so much. I also love the idea of the modeling, and it offers so many opportunities